Om. Sahana bhavatu, sahano bhunaktu, sahaviryam karavavahai, tejasvinavadhitamastu ma vitvishavahai. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Narayanam Namaskrityam Naram Chaiva Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayamudiraye. Pratasmarami Radhi Samspuradatma Tattvam Satchit Sukham Paramahamsa Gatim Turiyam Yat Swapna Jagara Sushuptamaveti Nityam Tad Brahma Nishkalamaham Nacha Bhuta Sangaha. Hi Gurudev. I believe we will have the chanting at the end of the. Is it okay if we chant at the end the whole thing? We start with the new stanza today.
Yes, Balaji, absolutely okay.
Yeah, Dhanyavad. I believe that way we will be able to revise also whatever we have done. I mean, we can refresh our when we are going through the stanza. Okay, so we had the reference of Atma Rama, and Swamiji had beautifully described the context of Atma Rama with the beautiful explanation of Valmiki Ramayana. And like Sita is a peace, and as per our Gurudev, Sita is none other than Bhakti. So very beautifully he had described. I will just try to read once again the last. The very name of the hero of this great classic is significant and suggestive. Ram. Sarve Ramanti iti Rama means the one reveler who revels everywhere in all bosoms. The self, Ram, wedded to Sita, its own nature of peace, lives on joyously with unperturbed equanimity, both in the kingdom of Ayodhya and in of his exile. His sorrows start when his peace falls prey into the hands of Ravana, the 10-headed monster. This represents the lower nature individual, which has 10 heads even today, the 5 organs of perception and the 5 organs of action. Please remember this. This monster Ravana is none other than our, you can say, 5 organs of perception and the 5 organs of action. The kingdoms of the secular and of the materialistic can never sustain for long within the boundaries of the Aryavarta, the land of the Sanatana Dharma, the garden of spirituality. In an era of Ramarajya, Ravanas cannot be the governors. Rama, then seeking for his consort, has necessarily to cross the ocean, reach Lanka, destroy the demoniac forces, and rediscover Sita, his lost peace. Shankara mentions in this stanza that the ocean to be bridged over is the delusory attachments and fascinations, and the forces that array themselves against Ram are the negative tendencies, which are natural in a deluded mind. When inner personality is purified and rehabilitated. Peace, the eternal concert of the self, is regained. Please remember this line. When the inner personality is purified and rehabilitated, peace, the eternal concert of the self, is regained. Thereafter, the man of realization rules over the kingdom of life from his capital called the effortless Ayodhya. It is only in Sanskrit that a classic can be summarized by the suggestiveness of the words that are at once directly describing the highest spiritual truth. Bahya nitya sukha saktim hitvatma sukha nirvrutah ghatastha deepavat swasthah swantareva prakashate. Also we had done. I will just quickly go through. The self-abiding Jivan Mukta, relinquishing all his attachments to the illusory external happiness and satisfied with the bliss derived from the Atman, shines inwardly like a lamp placed inside a jar. So it is so beautiful. So when a self-effulgent truth has nothing else other than itself to illumine, kindly mute yourself as you log in, please. Lichiji, could you please mute yourself? I will not be able to mute as Lichiji, kindly mute yourself. When a self-effulgent truth has nothing else other than itself to illumine in its own infinite glory, how will it exist? This will be now the doubt in every student of Vedanta who is approaching the theory of self-realization, especially during his early days of study, when he is trying to appreciate philosophy through his own limited intellectual evaluations. The condition of the pure consciousness, when it has no other objects to be conscious of except the self, is beautifully brought out in this analogy of Sri Shankara. When a lighted lamp is put on a table, no doubt its glowing illumination plays upon the surfaces of the various objects in the room, and in varying degrees of intensity, it illumines the objects. But as soon as that lighted lamp is slowly and carefully lowered into a pot or a jar, the light of the lamp must come to illumine only the inner space of the jar. Similarly, consciousness, while playing through the equipments, no doubt gets reflected upon the objects and provides us with the knowledge of objects. But when we have withdrawn the consciousness from the vehicles into itself, it can illumine only itself. This is a takeaway line. I repeat once again. Please pay attention. Similarly, consciousness, while playing through the equipments, no doubt gets reflected upon the objects and provides us with the knowledge of objects. But when we have withdrawn the consciousness from the vehicles into itself, it can illumine only itself. It is said in the stanza that at this stage of meditation, the self shines inwardly alone. This should not be misunderstood to mean only the direct dictionary meaning of the term inward. When the consciousness is withdrawn into the self, it illumines the within, is a statement that is couched in the Vedantic technique language. In Vedanta, subtlety of thing is measured by its pervasiveness. And in Vedanta, the subtler is conceived as interior to the grosser. Naturally, therefore, the innermost self is the subtlest of the subtle, which means that it is all pervading and that nothing pervades it. At the moment of self-realization, if the consciousness comes to illumine within, as the stanza says, in its secret import, it suggests that the final experience is of the infinite, all-pervading self, the subtlest of the subtle, the ever-effulgent, the pure awareness. So beautiful. So once we have withdrawn like a tortoise, all our equipments, then it shines in itself. Equipments are nothing but our all the sense organs. And when the antakaran has become pure, that illumination is very bright.
Here how they explain, if the light is on the table, it falls on the objects around around it and the whole
Yes,
room, right? And the likewise, the consciousness is projecting light all the objects around you, so that gets reflected back, like, so the worldly things are looking at you, and then but then when you, what was the last line you read? All
yeah, when you
pervading.
put it inside the pot,
Yeah,
carefully when
as
it
you're putting
comes
it in the
within, yeah,
spot like that, it the consciousness, when you withdrawn all the equipments, like you said, like the turtle withdrawing all the limbs in, like you control all your senses and unattached to those objects, then it shines by itself. And and when it shines by itself, the other aspect of it, like that sloka that we read, right? Sarvabhutas
yes,
Atmanam, that's a thing. So it's showing in yourself, and then the self in you, in all beings, and all beings in yourself. Like that. That's what this all pervading part that I think in this
yeah, that gets
particular way
harmonized.
harmonized. Yeah.
Samasti, and I mean, it becomes the same.
Right. Because when you realize it, like that's what's happening in you, that
Yeah,
you're realizing the self. Once you realize the self, then you're able to see the other self in all beings. So that,
correct.
yeah, so that where that light is a pure consciousness.
Yes.
Every
Samatvam, Ekatvam, and
Ekatvam, Samatvam, and Asangvatvam, and
yes,
Nindra
Indriya Nigraha. Yeah,
Nigraha. Yeah.
they are the keys, major keys.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, very beautiful, Dr. Mara.
Yeah, this one is very nice. I kind of didn't get the Rama thing because I missed those. Even though my thing was on
You
yesterday, I
want me
had
to
to.
read once again? Rama, it's very, very beautiful analogy Swamiji has described. It is, I mean, it is not to be missed.
I got that part about Rama and Ravana, that people with that Ravana like have a lot of um, sense,
Negative tendencies.
yeah, negative tendency, and also the wanting things, right? He wanted to have this, when people have moha for uh, like you can't say ladies, that more of a kama and then Artha and all this other thing, that's where it leads to the destruction. But then here, go ahead, you were going to say something. You were
No.
reading it while I got here, and so that's
Yeah.
what.
When the piece is
Can you explain
compared
Atma
with,
Rama? Yeah, that's what I
yeah,
want to know.
yeah.
Sarve Ramanti iti Rama. Sarve Ramanti iti Rama means where who resides in everyone's heart is Rama.
Very nice. Sarve Ramanti iti Rama.
I put a footnote there, you see. Just I
Yeah.
read that. There is one more.
Sarve Ramanti iti Rama.
Yeah. Rama, the meaning of Rama.
Yeah.
The one reveler who revels everywhere in all bosoms. The self Rama added to Sita.
And Sita is your own nature of peace, which is kidnapped by the 10-headed Ravana monster. And 10-headed Ravana is nothing but our 5 sense organs and 5 organs of action and organs of perceptions. So they take away our real nature, which is Shivam Sundaram. That is very beautifully here also it was described. Shantam Shivam Sundaram. It is our pure nature. Self is our nature of peace, which is Shantam Shivam Sundaram. And that is nothing but the Bhakti or Sita, whatever you describe as. You want me to read this one, Dr. Mara? The very name.
Even if you guys explain it, that's fine to me. Like I just wanted to see how this self-realization is happening in this particular sloka. That what was the point he was saying? I didn't get it.
Yeah, I will. That's why I will read it and then we can just see.
Okay, that'd be nice.
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
Yeah. Yeah. So having crossed over the ocean of delusion and having destroyed all the monsters, Rakshasas of negative tendencies showed by the mental equipment in an individualized self, the meditator enters the realm of the self to rediscover for himself the voiceless peace which he has but temporarily lost. Self is of the nature of peace, auspiciousness, beauty, Shantam, Shivam, Sundaram. And this experience of the self, the eternal, is permanent. And he thereafter ever lives in himself an unbroken experience of endless peace and bliss. He is the one who revels in the Atman, and that is why he is called Atmarama. This crucial word, Atmaram, poetic in itself, is highly suggestive to a student of the Indian Upanishads and the Hindu classics. Shankara, a master of the Hindu traditions, brings the entire story of Ramayana to pack up the words of this stanza firmly into its mighty beauty. Valmiki, who wrote Ramayana, not only wanted to give to his readers a complete picture of an ideal man, living all possible conditions, but he has also his own lived experience of the self to express. Valmiki was no mere author and publisher. He was essentially a man of realization, a champion of the scriptures. These inner symbolisms and significances of the Ramayana are generally lost sight of by the students who are charmed away by the minute beauties in the workmanship of his pen. Shankara in this stanza hints at the deep significance of Ramayana taken as a whole. The very name of the hero of this great classic is significant and suggestive. Rama means the one reveler who revels everywhere in all bosoms. Sarve Ramanti iti Rama. The self Ram wedded to Sita, its own nature of peace, lives on joyously with unperturbed equanimity, both in the kingdom of Ayodhya and in the jungles of his exile. This is a very beautiful line. Please pay attention. So that peace is not lost even when you are in kingdom or when you are in forest. So we believe that situation makes us happy or unhappy is not correct. Yeah. So his sorrows start when his concert Peace falls a prey into the hands of Ravana, the 10-headed monster. This represents the lower animal nature in an individual, which has 10 heads even today, the 5 organs of perception and the 5 organs of action. The kingdoms of the secular and of the materialist can never sustain for long within the boundaries of the Aryavarta, the land of the Sanatana Dharma, the garden of spirituality. In an era of Ramarajya, Ravanas cannot be the governors. Rama, then seeking for concert, has necessarily to cross the ocean, reach Lanka, destroy the demoniac forces, and rediscover Sita, his lost peace. Shankara mentions in this stanza that the ocean to be bridged over is the delusory attachments and fascinations and the forces that array themselves against Ram are the negative tendencies which are natural in a deluded mind. When the inner personality is purified and rehabilitated, peace, the eternal concert of the self, is regained. This is the takeaway line. When the inner personality is purified and rehabilitated, peace, the eternal concert of the self, is regained. Thereafter, the man of realization rules over the kingdom of life from his capital called the effortless Ayodhya. It is only in Sanskrit that a classic can be summarized by the suggestiveness of the words that are at once directly describing the highest spiritual truth. It's so beautiful. Anyone would like to share? Please unmute and share. उपाधिस्थोऽपि तद्धर्मैः अलिप्तो व्योमवन्मुनिः सर्वविन्मूढवित्तिष्ठेत् असक्तो वायुवच्चरेत्. Upadhisthopi, though associated with upadhis, conditionings, tad dharmai, by their attributes, aliptah, untamed, vyomavata, like the ether, munihi, the contemplative one, sarvavita, one who knows everything, mudhavata, like a fool, tishthet, remains, asaktah, being unattached, vayuvata, like the wind, charet, moves about. Though he lives in the conditionings, upadhis, he the contemplative one, remains ever unconcerned with anything, or he may move about like wind, perfectly unattached. I repeat, though he lives in the conditions, upadhis, he, the contemplative one, remains ever unconcerned with anything, or he may move about like the wind, perfectly unattached. I forgot to read. Upadhisthopi tad dharmaihi aliptah vyomavata munihi sarvavit mudavata tishthet asaktah vayuvat charet. The state of a Jivanmukta is described further here. The perfect man is one who has renounced all his clinging attachments to the finite sense objects. The mind has a tendency to hold on to something or other. And what is the alternative offered here? It is the constant bliss in him. But what happens when sometimes he appears to be seemingly associated with the world? Even though he may be outwardly cognizing and be aware of their existence, he is not bound by them, or he is a free man now, free from these upadhis. As an illumined person, he has learned to live constantly in that knowledge and illumination. In him, limitations have no weight to pull him down. Very beautiful. I read once again. Please pay attention. But what happens when sometimes he appears to be seemingly associated with the world? Even though he may be outwardly cognizing and be aware of their existence, he is not bound by them, for he is a free man now, free from these upadhis. As an illumined person, he has learned to live constantly in that knowledge and illumination. In him, limitations have no weight to pull him down, because he has made his antakarana pure and he has he has become antarmukh. So although on the surface level he appears to be associated with the world, but within himself he is same in that blissful state. Shantam Shivam Sundaram. He may move about as a devil, a child, or as a drunken man, but he is not really so. He lives in the greater intoxication of godhood, of goodhood. Kshamyata. He lives in the greater intoxication of goodhood and in the subtler joy of self-realization. He may serve the society or he may not. All the same, put him in any situation and he will handle it without getting affected in the least by his actions or the results of his contact. He is a sthita prajna of the highest order, explained so elaborately in the Gita. The footnote says, read Swamiji's discourses on Bhagavad Gita, chapter 2, shloka 54 to 72. The Sthita Prajna Shakabhasa. Okay. So I will just repeat once again. He may move about as a devil, a child, or as a drunken man, but he is not really so. He lives in the greater intoxication of goodhood and in the subtler joy of self-realization. He may serve the society or he may not. All the same, put him in any situation and he will handle it without getting affected in the least by his actions or the results of his contact. He is a sthita prajna of the highest order, explained so elaborately in the Bhagavad Gita. The sky appears to be blue and a little gray, but the sky itself is not really so. Similarly, the Jivan Mukta may seem to be associated with the Upadhis and may wander about as an ordinary man in the workaday world, but he gets into that role and comes out of it unattached and untainted like the wind. So this is the real meaning of the stanza which Swamiji had said in the beginning.
Excuse me,
Although he remains...
Balaji, can you read the Tatparya one more time?
Yeah,
Now that you
yeah,
read the whole thing, yeah, just want to.
yeah. Though he lives in the conditionings, upadhis, he, the contemplative one, remains ever unconcerned with anything, or he may move about like the wind, perfectly unattached.
Yeah, this is about the Sita Prajna, right? Like
Yes.
in the chapter 2, how they explain Sita Prajna when Arjuna asked Bhagavan Krishna, how does he walk, how does he talk? Like
Yes.
he wanted to know that, right? And
Correct.
So, and Bhagavan Krishna explains who the Siddha Prajna is, like pretty much what is said in the last paragraph, right?
Correct. Correct.
He is Jivan Mukta with, even though with all his ubadhis, and he behaves
Means
unattached to all the
unattached.
objects, and the unattached to this conditionings as well. So that's
Correct.
here they compared it with how the wind goes unattached, untainted. It comes out of that. So that's pretty much what it says in the Jivan
Yeah.
Mukta.
It doesn't carry the fragrance. If even if it passes through the flowers, it doesn't carry for a long time. Remains unattached, untainted.
Right. So that happens when somebody who's self-realized, even though they have their this ubadhis, they are not. They live their life. Even though they have to deal with all the worldly things, they come out of
Correct.
it unattached, untainted like the wind.
Untainted.
Mhm.
Correct. Very beautiful. Yeah. So we may perceive them as an ordinary man in the world, but in fact, from within, they are completely unshaken.
Right. But Siddha Prajna is basically the person who is centered, rooted in the self. So
Correct.
that's who is called his stable, and he equanimate with all the things, Sugha Dukkha and all these things, and plus um, renunciate all the things, right? Attachments, all that.
Yes.
So that's what the Siddha Prajna was. Like that, those, he said 54 to 72, that's almost 20
Correct.
plus ones.
54 to 72. Yeah. Sukhesu, sukha dukheshu. Even when it is a sad situation or happy situation, he remains the same. Yeah. The whole chapter, that sthita prajnasya ka bhasha samadhisthasya keshava sthita dimkim, the whole chapter is so beautiful. Second chapter. Yeah.
You
So
want me to read that sloka for you? That Sri Bhagavan Vacha, when he asked the question, Arjuna Vacha, Sthita
yeah, you can.
Prajnasya ka bhasha samadhi
The samadhisthasya keshava.
Tatasya Keshava Siddhadadi Kim Prabhasate Kim Asita Prajate Kim Shri Bhagavan Vacha Prajahati Yada Kaman Kaman Sarvan Partha Manogatan Atmani Evatmana no Atmani Evatmana Tustaha Sita Prajnas Tadochayate.
Hmm.
And then, like you said, Dukkeshu Anuvigna Manaha Sukeshu Vihata
Vigata spruha.
Spraha Vita Raga Baya Krodaha Stita Dir Munir Uchyate.
He remains unshaken, even when
Yeah,
it is a joy or a sad situation.
it's not agitated in adversity, who is free from desire and divide of attachments, fear, anger, and everything. Steady wisdom. So
That's
anybody
very
wants to know more, like I know there's a lot of slokas, and then that the kurma that we talk about that. Yeah, a lot of slokas.
yeah,
Yeah, it's nice to review those things.
yeah.
And,
In Bhagavad Gita, Bhakti Yoga, this chapter 6, and this Sthita Prajna, these three things to be by hearted. Although if you even if you are not able to by heart the whole 18th chapter, but these three
yeah,
chapters are
second
very
chapter
important.
is very important.
Yes.
then the
Second, sixth as
karma
a
yoga,
technique.
meditation.
Yeah.
He's still dwelling on it.
Yeah. Very beautiful. Dhanyavad, Dr. Mara, for sharing. Shall we move ahead now? 43rd shloka. Yeah. Anyone wants to share? उपाधिविलयाद्विष्णौ निर्विशेषं विषेन्मुनिः जले जलं वियद्वायोन्मि तेजस्तेजसि वा यथा. Kindly Kshamyatam if I have wrong pronunciation. Only Brahmaraji can help me to correct. Upadhi vilayat, on the destruction of the upadhis or conditionings. Vishnu, in the all-pervading spirit. Nirvishesham, totally. Visheta, is absorbed. Munihi, the contemplative one. Jale, into the water. Jalam, water. Viyata, the space. Vyomni, into the space. Tejah, light. Tejasi, into the light. Va and Yatha, just as. Upadhi vilayat Vishnu nirvishesham visheta munihi jale jalam viyata vyomni tejah tejasi va yatha. On the destruction of the upadhis, the contemplative one is totally absorbed in Vishnu, the all-pervading spirit, like water into water, space into space, and light into light. I repeat, on the destruction of the upadhis, the contemplative one is totally absorbed in Vishnu, the all-pervading spirit, like water into water, space into space, and light into light. The upadhi in me that has, I think, please remember this shloka, it is so beautiful. Upadhi vilaya Vishnu nirvishesham vishen munihi jale jalam vyadvayonmi tejas tejasi vayatha. Such beautiful way Sri Shankara has described. The upadhi in me
Read
that
the
has,
meaning one more time. Read meaning.
yeah. On the destruction of the upadhis, the contemplative one is totally absorbed in Vishnu, the all-pervading spirit, like water into water, space into space, and light into light.
It is matparaha.
Matachitta matparaha.
Very, very good.
So Sarvam Brahma Mayare. We have that bhajan, no? The upadhi in me that has occasioned the expression of personality is my identification with my body, mind, and intellect. No doubt it may appear that there are other limiting factors, but all of them arise because of one's association with these three evils. The seeker who wants to end the conditioned existence and discover the whole in him should withdraw his mind from the said upadhis. I repeat once again, Indriya Nigraha here. The upadhi in me that has occasioned the expression of my personality is my identification with my body, mind, and intellect. No doubt it may appear that there are other limiting factors, but all of them arise because of one's association with these three evils. The seeker who wants to end the conditioned existence and discover the whole in him should withdraw his mind from the said upadhis. When I no more identify myself with the individuality in me, when the egocentric existence, which is the reality reflected in the mind and intellect, is destroyed, then, like water into water, space into space, and light into light, I come to merge with the Vishnu, the all-pervading. Naturally, when my limited existence is made unlimited, I can be nothing else than the all-pervading. The stains on the mirror having been washed out, the reflection is now brighter and clearer. So beautiful. When the equipments are destroyed, the Muni, a man of reflection, Manana Shilavan, comes to experience the inner bliss without any admixture or qualitative distinction. Nirvisheshatvam. When the Vishnu or the all-pervasive nature of one's own self is realized as the self in all, one comes to remain at one-ment with him in eternal joy, losing one's own limited individuality. So you are no more that alpagnya kinchidagnya. You are that limitless Vishnu. When the equipments are destroyed, I repeat once again the last paragraph. When the equipments are destroyed, the Muni, a man of reflection, Manana Shilvan, comes to experience the inner bliss without any admixture or qualitative distinction. Nirvisheshatvam. When the Vishnu or the all-pervasive nature of one's own self is realized as the self in all, one comes to remain at one-ment with him in eternal joy, losing one's own limited individuality. So the feeling of abundance, the feeling of purnatvam, akhandatvam, that will arise once you are having that ekatvam and samatvam in the whole creation around you. Anyone wants me to read or repeat or say it in a simpler way, kindly unmute and say.
Let's say it in the simpler way.
I'm sorry, Dr. Renu. In a
Say
simpler
it.
way,
Yeah.
yeah, the Muni, the person who has withdrawn his all senses within himself, he will be able to see the whole creation as that Ananta Akhanda Vishnu, the one who is all pervading, even in the you can say even at the micro level to the macro level. And he is able to see that within himself and outside of himself. And as a result of that, he will remain in that Sat Chit Ananda Swarupa, or that peace, which is Shantam, Shivam, and Sundaram. He will be able to revel in that state. The one who is Jivan Mukta. Here he is described as Muni, who is Mananashila. Anyone can say it in a simpler way. Kindly unmute and say, please.
No, thank you. You made it beautiful.
Yeah, dhanyavad. I did not recall the actual definition of Vishnu that was also said in Bhagavad Gita. If anyone can remember, I think
Vishnu means it's all over, right? I mean, he's everywhere.
pervading everywhere, right?
Yeah. One second, let me find it for you.
Yeah, we had seen it, I think, in When Arjuna is
Yeah, in the, I mean, this is in Tamil, but basically it means is he's everywhere. I mean, he's spreaded everywhere like that.
he's all pervading.
Oh, Sarvata Panipatam, that's 13th chapter, 13th sloka. Vishnu. One second, let me see. One sloka 13. One second. Light கொஞ்சம் போடுங்க. Sarvataha Panipadam Tat Sarvatochi Shiromuktam Sarvataha Strutimau Loke Sarvam Avritya Tishtati. His hands and feet are everywhere. His eyes and ears and mouth grasp everything. His face is in all directions. He is the transcendental spirit enveloping all that exists in the world.
Wow.
That was a description.
So beautiful.
Yeah, that's one they said Sarvata Panipatam Tat Yagarupi. So he's there in all three past, present, and future. He's
Yes.
the Parameshwara, right? And then there's so many different slokas they mentioned here. Oh, wow. 726 and 97. Hold on. 726. And slokas 26 is okay. Vedaham samatitani vartamanani cha Arjuna bhavishyani cha bhutani mamtu vedana kachana. That, oh Arjuna, I know all beings, past, present, future, but none knows me. So that's also Vishnu. And then 9-7 is 9-7. You know, when you read Om Vishnave Namaha and Vishnu Sahasranamam, they give this reference for Vishnu.
Yes,
So
yes.
from that I'm reading. Okay. Sarva Bhutani Kaunteya Prakritim Yanti Mamikam Kalpakshaye Punastani Kalpadav Visrujami Aham. At the end of cosmic cycle, O son of Kunti, all beings resolve into nature, Prakriti, which is my own. And at the beginning of a new one, after the period of dissolution or pralaya is over, I bring them out again. So he is everything.
Yes.
Yeah.
सृष्टि का करता भी है, प्रलय.
Yeah, so in Gita, if you want to look references, 726, 9-7 and 13-13.
Okay.
I don't know exactly where the name Vishnu comes in. We might have read somewhere. Maybe
it comes in Vishnu Sahasranama. Yes, even I have read that.
Yeah.
Can you repeat the shloka numbers?
The sloka number 726.
Okay.
And then 9-7. And then the 13, chapter 13.
13.
Yeah, one second. I verify that for you. Yeah, 13, and then 726 and 9-7.
That is the Vishwarupa.
Yeah, the 13 is, I think, Vishwarupam.
13 is Vishwarupa.
Yeah,
so
and
the same Vishnu. Yes.
Yeah, and then
I think it is given in the Vishnu Sahasranama.
Yes,
I
yes.
I don't have read it. Is now I have to search for it. Okay, thank you.
Yeah, no problem. And they also give quote from Vishnu Puranam and Narayana Sukstam,
Yes.
since we are reading the Gita, I thought we are familiar with this. Okay, thank you.
Yeah, धन्यवाद Dr. Mara, धन्यवाद.
All
So,
pervasive nature of one's own self. That is Vishnu. Good.
And when you feel that within you,
Yeah, when you go out the world, like when you go out of the house, when you see it, oh, it's all like Vishnu, that's how you think all this, even when you see Krishna, when he opened his mouth, the whole world was in his mouth, right? Like the universe.
yes,
Yeah, so.
it's so beautiful. It is just wonderment. We just feel that wow feeling. Yeah. I will read once again the last paragraph. When the equipments are destroyed, the Muni, a man of reflection, Manana Shilvan, comes to experience the inner bliss without any admixture or qualitative distinction. Nirvisheshatvam. When the Vishnu or the all-pervasive nature of one's own self is realized as the self in all, one comes to remain at one ment with him in eternal joy, losing one's own limited individuality. So you are not limited. You are not that alpagya kinchitagya. You are that infinite.
Yeah, so when here they mentioned about all the upadhis been destroyed, either it didn't say was it Jivan Mukta. Of course, here it says that last one is the Muni, where the equipments are destroyed. I'm wondering that it goes back to how they said the water goes into water, the air light goes into light, and what else did you said? Three of them.
Yeah,
Air
space,
goes into the air.
light,
Yeah,
and
space.
water.
Right. Yeah, like that. So it sounds like to me like when if it destroyed means it's who passed, right? Like somebody who passed, their Sula Sarira broke, or the Rubat is gone, and it kind of mixed with that. But then when it goes back to the same elements, it reaches the Vishnu, so we're reaching that part of it. So I don't know, that's what the meaning is here, or when people, when I didn't get this exactly what, like, is it while living or after the
As
person
per
is
my
gone?
little knowledge, it is while living only, Dr. Mara.
Yeah, that's what I
Jivan,
thought, because this is a self-realization, right? But
yeah,
is this like, is it after realization, this part, this song, this sloka? I'm not sure.
yes, it is when once realize its own nature, then it becomes like he becomes that, no? You are that. You become that Jivan Mukta. You become free from all the, although you seem to be in that midst of the material world, but still you remain sthita prajna. You remain unattached. Like the wind, as Swamiji had explained. And
Yeah, there
here
was the
it is,
previous
yeah,
one, and this
yeah,
one is
yeah.
different.
Yeah, this is different, but it is, I think, suggesting the same. The only thing it is, you mean to say that it is after the death, the death of the physical body, sthula sharira once leave, then he becomes Vishnumay. In that, yeah, I think that Brahmaraj can help us to clarify. But as
Yeah,
per my little
that's
knowledge, it is the same Jivan compared as the Muni also. the one who is Mananashila, and he thinks the whole creation as, but you feel that it is his all elements are merged into the
You're right.
creation.
Maybe it is still in that, that realization, right? So
Mhm.
it's not, but as if it dissolved, or I didn't get that point, how it feels like it dissolved into that.
Yeah, I think we can request Brahmaraji to clarify because she's the right one.
Thank you.
Yeah, धन्यवाद. यल्लाभान्ना परो लाभो यत्सुखान्ना परं सुखं यज्ञानाप्ना परं ज्ञानं तद्ब्रह्मेत्यवधारयेत्. Yallabha, from the attainment of which, no, not, aparah, other, labha, attainment, yat, sukhat, from the blessed one, blessedness of which, from the blessedness of which, no, not, aparam, other, sukham, blessedness, yaj jnanat, from the knowledge of which, no, not, aparam, other, jnanam, knowledge, tad brahma, that to be Brahman, iti, thus, avadharayet, realize. Yal labhat na aparah labah yat sukhat na aparam sukham yat jnanat na aparam jnanam tad brahma iti avadharayet. Realize that to be Brahman, the attainment of which leaves nothing more to be attained, the blessedness of which leaves no other blessing to be desired, and the knowledge of which leaves nothing more to be known. I repeat, realize that to be Brahman, the attainment of which leaves nothing more to be attained, the blessedness of which leaves no other blessing to be desired, and the knowledge of which leaves nothing more to be known. So beautiful. After realizing, I think as
This
we
is
read,
list of self-realization. No? This is a
yeah,
54. Okay.
yes, 54.
54. And the one I want to know is 53. Mm.
Yeah, about the Vishnu. Yeah.
Mhm. Okay. This is the bliss of realization.
Mhm.
I'm sorry.
Yeah, these three following stanzas in Atma Bodham try to indicate the supreme Brahman by a technical process used in Vedanta to express the absolute called Tatastha Lakshana. An attempt at definition by
Dear
differentiation.
Bella, that I am
Yeah,
looking at the other Atma Bodh that one I have. Can
yeah,
I read that about that
yeah,
for
yeah,
53?
please go ahead. Please read.
Okay. All
The
right.
same shloka, right?
The 53, the one we just were talking about
Yeah,
Upadhi.
yeah.
Okay.
Okay. Please go ahead. Yeah.
In this
53rd.
verse, it may appear from the words and similes used that the situation at the time of death is being referred to. It is not so. The state of Jivan Mukti is being described and Jivan Mukti is liberation while still living. The resemblance of death is only because Jivan Mukti is the death knell of the ego, which finally is destroyed when illumination comes. How is liberation attained? That is what is described here. The ubadhis of the body, mind, and intellect are dissolved by withdrawing all identification with them. This requires the maximum clarity of the intellect to accomplish. Now, when the seeker does succeed in dissolving them, that is, disidentifying with them, then the naturally occurring state of self-realization blossoms forth by itself. So again, when the seeker does succeed in dissolving them by disidentifying, that is disidentifying with them, then the naturally occurring state of self-realization blossoms forth by itself. The blossoming takes the form of total absorption of the individual self, ego, with the universal self. Okay, so it absorbs into individual to the universal self. At this point come the three similes which illustrate such a state of absorption of the little self into the universal self. So that's why I was wondering about the light and the air and all that stuff. So,
Yeah,
yeah, so
so
that was
beautiful.
mhm. At this point, the three similes which illustrate such a state of absorption of the little self into the universal.
Yeah. So there is a word, I'm sorry to interrupt. There is a
Mm.
word in chapter 6, I think we have read, enlightened ego, it is called. Enlightened ego. I mean, it is, you are merging with the whole samasti.
Yeah,
Very beautifully it is
universal
described. Yeah,
self. Okay.
dhanyavad. Very nice. So it
Yeah,
has
they still
clarified our
go
doubt.
on, but at least my question was okay. For ignorant mind, hopefully that's what it happens, right?
But it's very nice. We should keep up because that only will help us to clarify and to have better vision.
From which this one you have read, Dr. Mara?
So, Suraj, you can just say Mara, that's fine. Oh,
No.
we had two kinds of PDF. If you want, I'll put it in the group.
Oh, that would be
The doctor, this is also Chinmaya only, Chinmaya's another Chinmaya mission, but then it was by one of the other Swamiji. But the one we are reading is Chinmaya Swamiji.
okay. Can you put it in the?
Yeah, I'll put this also. Okay,
So nice of you, doctor.
no problem.
Doctor is your upadhi.
No, I know you had said you are coming here and yeah, come and visit me. I'm in the West Coast, California.
Let us see if I come.
That is so nice. So I think we were discussing the 54th shloka, right? I will once again, I will try to read. Realize that to be Brahman, the attainment of which leaves nothing more to be attained, the blessedness of which leaves no other blessing to be desired, and the knowledge of which leaves nothing more to be known. These three following stanzas in Atma Bodham try to indicate the supreme Brahman by a technical process used in Vedanta to express the absolute called Tatastha Lakshana, an attempt at definition by differentiation yet in consonance with it. It in indicating, for example, the house of Sat Prakashji. We may say that house on which the crow sits is his house. The crow does not permanently sit there. The crow is no part of that house. Showing the crow, we indicate the house separately from other similar houses. The house is, of course, understood as the building without the crow on it. Even when the crow has flown away, the knower of the house can recognize it from all other houses. This method is called Tatastha Lakshana. The supreme experience is explained here as the greatest gain, the greatest knowledge, having gained which no more is felt any sense of incompleteness, and so none will like to add any more gains to it. Having enjoyed the bliss of the self, none will strive for a greater bliss, having known which there will never be any more, any thirst to know anything more. That state of absolute gain, bliss knowledge is Brahman, the experience of the self. I read once again, it is very beautiful. The supreme experience is explained here as the greatest gain, the greatest knowledge, having gained which no more is felt any sense of incompleteness, and so none will like to add any more gains to it. Having enjoyed the bliss of the self, none will strive for a greater bliss, having known which there will never be any more, any thirst to know anything more. That state of absolute gain, bliss, knowledge is Brahman, the experience of the self. All struggles to gain new acquisitions, to add fresh joys, and to strive for more knowledge indicate the sense of dissatisfaction felt by the imperfect. Imperfection belongs to the individuality in us, the ego, jiva. When the jiva rediscovered itself to be the self, all imperfections it so far felt are understood by it to be the destiny of its matter envelopments, the body, mind, intellect. And therefore, in that condition of spiritual rediscovery, the realized one finds that all his struggles have ended. That in experiences which we come to feel such an endless fullness in our life is the supreme goal. I think this stanza we will do it tomorrow once again. It is very, very important and very beautiful. It is not that there will be an end of struggle or end of problem. The Jivan Mukta, he feels that he is unattached with all those because it is all his upadhis with body, mind, and intellect only. The inner core of himself is that bliss, supreme will. That is his, you can say, realization of a Jivan Mukta. I think we will do it once again. So I the time is up. So I will just put a pause here. We will close our eyes and we will just try to recall and then we can share. Hello, Jai Gurudev. Kindly unmute and share. I think we started from this we have done. I'll just read once again the shloka. I decided that I'll read from the beginning, but it is we have reached a lot. So the whole will not be possible now. उपाधिस्थोऽपि तद्धर्मैः अलिप्तो व्योमवन्मुनिः सर्वविन्मूढवत्तिष्ठेत् असक्तो वायुवच्चरेत्. Though he lives in conditionings, upadhis, he, the contemplative one, remains ever unconcerned with anything, or he may move about like the wind, perfectly unattached. उपाधिविलयाद् विष्णौ निर्विशेषं विषेन्मुनिः जले जलं वियद्व्योन्मि तेजस्तेजसि वा यथा. On the destruction of the upadhis, the contemplative one is totally absorbed in Vishnu, the all-pervading spirit, like water into water, space into space, and light into the light. Yallabhana paro labho, yat sukhana param sukham, yajnananan param jnanam, tad brahmetyavadharayet. Realizing that to be Brahman, the attainment of which leaves nothing more to be attained, the blessedness of which leaves no other blessing to be desired, and the knowledge of which leaves nothing more to be known. Yeah, kindly unmute and share. We will see this 55th shloka tomorrow. Kindly unmute and share, even if it is one line contribution. Kindly share your takeaway. It will be very helpful to contemplate throughout the day. So please unmute and share.
I can say that today's shlokas lead us to speechlessness. Just be with it. Jai Gurudev. I just wanted to know if Brahmaraji is there, and that anyway the upadhis are there on the body, and the mind and intellect also is functioning, but allowing ourselves, like surrendering ourselves to the higher, how come that guidance comes through the higher powers, and then that indriyartheshu means indriyas are working, but with the higher authorities handling it, and not the I, the small I, my ahankar. How to distinguish that, Jai Gurudev?
Yeah, Brahmaraji, are you there?
Yeah, Jai Gurudev.
Yeah, Jai Guru.
I think it is much like I joined in a little late, but what my little understanding is that probably when you compare how a Jnana Nishta moves around in, I think, chapter 5, it was this. Although he's doing it, he is not. He doesn't. He does it with a non-doership. What is that? Ashnan, Jigran, Swapan, Swashan, Pralapan, Visrijan, Grinnan, Unmishan, Nimishan, Napi. So, Indriyarteshu. So, he is the person, the sannyasi is actually doing everything. But the senses are doing it on their own. He doesn't have that, the identification with them. I don't know whether this is what you're looking at. There is a person who's not still in that state of jnana nishta. For him, when he's smelling, he thinks he is smelling. If he's eating and he's tasting something, he thinks he is the one who's tasting.
The ego should dissolve. That's the main thing, The ego, that I, it has to go.
Unless until the mind is connected, we won't be able to experience the smell, right?
To live in the world,
comes.
you need little ego. But once you live, you need not show it. You see, within you, you are the higher self, but you have to be in the samsara, so you have to behave like that only. So there we cannot make distinction there. Once you have achieved that, you have achieved. You need not show it. That's it. Guruji says, no. If you say that I have become mukta, moksha I have achieved, means you have not yet achieved the moksha. Those who have achieved, they will not say it. So it's a fine line there. You need not have a clear distinction there.
I think it is also how strongly you identify with the upadhis.
That is
Stronger you identify, if they are like the skin on your body, then anything that happens to the upadhis is affecting you. But if they are there, they're there as just the matter envelopments, because you're in this body. Till the prarabdha leaves, till the prarabdha is there, the sannyasi has to continue doing his routine natural things. It is not like because he's enlightened, he does not need to eat and breast and go about his natural, normal bodily functions have to be taken care of. So for that, is that lesha avidya is there, a little bit of association is there, but then it is not like how the skin is attached to the body. Is that tight identification is not there. It is more loose, just like how we wear clothes on our body. It is something happening to the cloth that you wear is not affecting you.
You know that example of the movie screen where we say the screen is there and you know the screen is compared to the self. And whatever projected on that screen, like you can say that like Ubadis, I mean, it could be happy thing happening or sad things and or you know tragedies and all that. But then it's just one of those reflections. So it's you just not attached to any of those things, even though you know we tend to cry and get emotional when seeing the movie, but we tend not get affected knowing that that's only the movie. So the same way, this whole, we know this Jagat is all mithya. So whatever is affecting that, we are affected by it because it's all reflected to our mind as the suffering, right? The samsara is like suffering. You have happiness, I mean, joy and sadness. If something you like it happens, then you're happy, and if you're not happening, you're sad. So that those kind of things, you know, when we see it as all this is a mithya, and then you let you're not attached to any of those things. So I mean, you go about doing your things, but then you're not attached to the body or mind or the intellect, and letting go the ego as well. And but it's easy to say, but then it you have to put it in practice. That's what I think.
Thank you so much, Mara.
Gurudev,
You're
I
welcome.
think the whole we are not attaching ourselves to upadhis. We read that this shloka number 36 in Atma Bodha. I was reminded of this because it says that the constant awareness of the that is the jnana abhyasa. You have to have that practice of the jnana abhyasa, of the knowledge, practice of knowledge. And I will quote like these, the lines written: those alone who constantly practice the control of the mind and retreat inch by inch from the dark despairs of the matter envelopments can grow more and more in their spiritual strength. This brings the glow of the God consciousness deep into their hearts. And when the ignorance which causes the veiling of truth and the agitations of the mind has gradually weakened, and when there is no more the eruption of the self-centered, egoistic thoughts of passion and sense impulses, we are awakened to the knowledge of the self. So I was reminded of this shloka when Madhuri ji was questioning about like when you do your practice and you are in knowledge, you retreat from all those all the attributes of the body and the mind, and you be in an alert state. You are always watching your thoughts, and you grow slowly. You are controlling yourself firstly. Only then I feel that the glow of the God consciousness, it seeps into your inner, because only when the antakarana is should, then only it is said that the God resides in a pure heart. So I related this shloka in this way. Jai Gurudev.
Thank you, Savita ji. This you can, whatever you said, can you send it in the group also, so that we can do the
It's the
manana?
36 shloka. You can go over it. Atma Bodha 36 shloka. Nitya Shuddha Vimukt Ekam Akhanda Anand Madhavam Satyam Jnana Manantam Yat Param Brahma Meva Tat. This shloka, it was when I went through it, it struck me like the that we should follow and be in an alert state. And I think there needs practice, which is the main motive of this shloka, to be in the jnana abhyasa. It will definitely help.
Thank you. इसका screenshot भेज दो ना. ये
अच्छा, okay,
paragraph का screenshot भेज.
Okay, I'll say.
Dr.
Yeah, I
Brahma,
want to comment.
one quick question. Is it okay to post this other Atma Bodh that we had, Dr. Brahma?
Yeah, for certain, Dr. Mara.
It's by Guru Bhaktananda. It's also Chinmaya only.
I think he's one of the disciples, right?
Right, yeah. So I just wanted to check with you. So
No,
I mean,
please go
we
ahead.
did this, and it also helps to understand some things a little bit complex in this particular one. It helps to understand the other one, and also they kind of separate in this particular one. All the slokas been separated, like this is where the about the Atma, and then this is the self-realization.
They've
and then
subdivided the
subdivided the
correct.
portion, so you kind of get a better understanding of okay, this sloka is specifically talking
It's fine.
about this.
You can post it in. I think it was
Okay.
all. I'm not sure whether it was posted
You
already
had
long time back. Yeah.
long
You
time
can
back,
repost
yes.
it again.
Yeah. Okay, great. Thank you.
Jai Gurudev, I want to comment here. You see, even if you are Jivan Mukta, you are completely, but your prarabdha karma, it doesn't, it comes to you. It comes to you. Whatever you have to come, it will come to you. You will not desire it. But the other people think that you are wearing such a beautiful gold, that, this, etc. And how he can be a Jivan Mukta, So there was in one of our Charitra Siddhartha Swami, Hubli, there was one disciple who is Kabir Das. He was royal, from the royal family, and he was always wearing gold and all that, but he was Jivan Mukta. And other disciples were very jealousy about it. How Swamiji was in Langoti only, and this fellow is like a king and all that. So the other disciples were telling him, what is this? You love him lot and all that. Then Siddhartha Swami, he was in Langoti only, he called, Kabira, come here. And Kabira was in taking bath, and he heard Guru's voice. He came on his Langoti only, okay, to the place where everyone was sitting. Then he said, now only you got out from this ashram, okay. So, okay, Guru's Vakya. So he just goes out without any his gold, that, this, etc., anything. So he just goes on, and people give him bhiksha and all that. So he reaches this one. There, oh, why Kabir Das is like that? The other disciples, bhaktas, they say he is not like that at all. So they put him gold, they put him this, they put him kirata and all that. And the next day, Siddhartha said, Kabira, come. Then he comes. He was fully loaded with all the gold, with all the ornaments, with silks, shawls and all that. Then the other disciples understood. His prarabdha is there to wear all those. But in his mind, he is completely Jivan Mukta. You know, he had gone with only langoti, but when he came, again he was flooded with all the gold and shawls and all other things. So we cannot avoid this one. We cannot say that the people who are wearing all this is not a Jivan Mukta. We cannot divide it, you know. How we separate it, what Madhuriji asked, we cannot have that. Within yourself, you should be Jivan Mukta. If you know that, that's only enough for you. Jai Gurudev.
Very useful example, Suresh.
It comes in the Charitra of Siddhartha Swami. So small charitras, we have been brought up like that earlier. So those give light to all such small doubts like this. Now when we are going in deep.
Jai Gurudev, what is the name of the Charitra?
There was one Swami, Siddhartha Swami. We were actually, our family was Siddharuda. Siddharuda. Siddharuda in Hubli. I think about a century, 150 years back, contemporary of, we can say, Sai Baba, and he looks like that only. He was really wonderful, and our family was associated with it. And we read every Shravana Masa his Charitra. In those Charitras only, I got all this knowledge of this one, you know. So because they live, and when we hear the living Charitra, we understand the knowledge also. You see, that's how we have grown, and it's very easy to understand the knowledge now for me.
Like that, there are so many in India, no? In
Like
every
that, yes.
state, there
That's
are
what.
so many.
So many, yes. But we have to be, our eyes has to be open to understand those. The very, very Jivan Muktas. Wonderful. Like Sai
I
Baba
wish these
also.
stories should come back to the younger generation as well.
It will come.
That would happen.
It will come because India is evolving. India is evolving, and we are lucky to be in India. That was what Guruji also says, you know. We were born in India, that gives us so much opportunity to have the knowledge in so many ways. Not only all this Bhagavad Gita and all that, but every living people are, this is the land of Munis and all that.
Even now, there is a
Dr. Brahmara, one request is there. Some technical issue. The moment somebody gets connected to the instrument, joins this Zoom meeting, immediately the first thing is his or her audio is on unmute mode. So can we do something that the moment we log on, it should be video and audio should be off. Otherwise, what happens, unknowingly somebody gets connected and he or she doesn't know.
Yeah, correct. The last 2 days I was not able to join in. But otherwise it was mute all. It was muted. Maybe that is not being done.
Okay.
But it'll be nice for all of us to be aware of this and ourselves mute ourselves. So that
I did that only. That day, since 3 days it is happening.
But between that time gap, no, so much surrounding noises from other instruments, they also come, no?
Correct.
So if,
Correct.
from your side, if you mute all rakhoge na, the moment anybody logs in, it should always be mute only.
Yeah.
There is some
I
before
will look at
Yeah,
that. Yeah.
there is in the settings, there is.
I'll look at that.
setting, yeah,
In the
setting
Zoom
in the
session.
Zoom meeting ki setting mein chale jao, back
Yeah.
and back.
We'll do that.
Ji.
Thank you. Bela, I think we have reached time today. Do we have time for the Bhagavad Gita?
Brahmaraji, we have already, I think it is 7:30.
Correct. So we'll stop here today. We'll make
Yeah.
sure that tomorrow we'll leave at least 15 minutes for Bhagavad Gita, for the shloka.
Yeah,
Hmm?
yeah, yeah, yeah.
So we'll
Yeah, Dr.
automatically stop
Renu's
one and all.
sharing was there. Merge with Vishnu, who is all pervading. I forgot to read Dr. Renu's chat box. Yeah, that's very nice. About the last verse what we read.
So we can conclude here today.
Yeah.
Om Loka Samasta Sukhino Bhavantu. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Om Tat Sat Shri Krishna Arpanamastu. Jai Gurudev.
Dhanyavad, Brahmaraji. Your voice makes the whole thing so complete. We feel complete, Brahmaraji. Dhanyavad.